in the storage tanks. Power interruptions cause the generator to come on. He gets various readings from various sources through the computer that he has linked to his home computer. He doesn't mean driving here every time, but he's found that being basically on call all the time is not a responsibility that he wishes to continue with, to the point where he's interested in moving on, but for that and for other reasons. But that's one of them that has influenced his decision at this time. So what we've tried to construct here is something that will in the future describe the position, and also a way to provide for some backup coverage for vacation time or weekends. I mean, the guy had to arrange for somebody else to be available so that he could go to a Bruins ice hockey game, and it became quite a project for him. So he did go to the game, and it's the first time he's been away for a long, long time. So we're trying to put something together that will allow us to have the capability that Oakland needs to run this pumping station effectively. And there are various people involved that may be able to provide us with qualified backup help. But this is sort of to give you the information that Dan is preparing to retire, and we are preparing for that when it happens. And this is more or less for you to look at and know about, as opposed to asking for a particular action this evening.
I had a few comments on here that I could bring up, or I could just give them to you, Peter, and you could look at them and see if they make any sense when you get time to rewrite this sometime.
I'd be happy to.
Just minor things that
Be very happy to.
they might not make any sense, but
to
they
look at
might.
those. Yes, thank you. Thank you.
When was his date that he's looking forward to, Peter?
August, we don't have a specific August date yet. The answer, there are no licenses or classes for this position. When he was treating waste, there were.
Okay.
Now that we're pumping waste, he does not need an
I was
operator.
thinking he had some sort of a license.
He does, but it's not required
required,
for
no.
the current arrangement.
So we'll be, at some point, we'll be posting for that job.
I'm going to come back to you with more on this topic as we move along. If that's okay on that one, Mr. Chairman, I'd move on to some of the information that's also in your packet. There's a report for the year 2013 from Delta Ambulance, and in it you'll see that they responded to 614 calls in Oakland during 2013. And the detail is given for the average response time, 7.37 minutes. But we do get this report annually, and I thought you might be interested in the amount of work that they're doing here in town.
Is our fire chief happy with their response and what they do for us?
At this time, yes. Just as a side note, there are some local communities that are looking at some delays in response based on the new hospital in Augusta. But it's nothing I've noticed here for Oakland. But something we kind of keep an eye on what they're looking at. But no, we're satisfied, absolutely satisfied with the service we get from them.
I wanted to give you a natural gas update. Oh, I'm sorry,
Quick question.
Ryan.
Do you have a sense of, are 100% of the people who are transported going to Thayer? Do some go to Augusta?
We're seeing a lot, from what I'm seeing, is a lot more people are going to inland. People that we've responded to in the past that went to Thayer. deciding to go to inland. They are taking a lot to Thayer, and then if they need to be emitted, they're transferring from there. There hasn't been too many direct from Oakland to Augusta. And I don't know, you know, it's really new, and to see how it's gonna play out, and, you know, Delta added personnel and added trucks to hopefully not have delays in other communities. And, you know, it's nothing that I've seen here or had any complaints about, but something we're just kinda keeping an eye on.
On the natural gas, I was at a meeting this morning conducted by Brian Foster, the project manager for Summit Utilities. The meeting was in Waterville. It's one that we've been having every couple weeks since summertime. At this point in time, the project in Oakland, the line is tied together underneath Messalonsky Stream. They tied into the work that they had done earlier on that side of the stream. You'll note that the drill is turned 90 degrees, and they've begun drilling towards the fire station, which would get them back to the point where they started putting pipe in the ground back in the summer. The pipe that you see laid out beside K&D again is the drill pipe that will go into the chute that they're now making from where the drill sits up to the fire station. And they've indicated that they're gonna manipulate that around the corner somehow so that they can get that where it belongs in low traffic hours sometime when they're ready to do so. There were two fittings on Old Waterville Road that Brian said they were replacing today. And when that was complete, that was on Old Waterville Road near the Malin Street intersection. And when that was complete, that crew was moving up Fairfield Street, up to next to the Riverside Farm Market, where they still have about 200 feet, I guess, of excavation to do to complete their transmission main. And then they would be ready to test the line from Rabicon, which was the last place where they completed a test. There's a place up in Fairfield where the next stop is, and the next section of it that they would be testing once they're ready to go there. They indicated that there is gas in the main for customers' use, Thomas College and Inland Hospital, the ones that they're trying to reach first, and I guess they're very close to getting those meters turning, to use their phrase. I think those are the significant points from today's meeting.
How are they doing up in Orange Walk, Peter? Did he mention that? Are they under the river up there?
He indicated that I forget what the numbers were, they're well into the drilling that needs to be completed up there. I forget what it was, maybe 2,000 feet to drill, and they've drilled 1,300 feet, I think that's what I recall.
I saw a load of pipe go by today, and I wondered if it was headed for Orange Walk.
Well, I don't know.
So they have gas as far as Rabicon now, right?
Yes, yes.
An interesting side note, Madison has been very inquisitive about the timetable, and they had a meeting at their junior high, you probably read about it in the paper. And I think the quote that they were given by Summit was, this was last week, the meeting, in 3 weeks, we will be pumping into Madison paper and starting our distribution lines to the customers in the Madison area. Which means that 2 weeks from today, they anticipate this all being done, tested, and ready to go. I just
Take bets on that?
Well, their dates have been changing fairly often.
But the ones they give to the public, when they have the public sessions, are very different, I think, than what
I
they're
noticed,
showing.
I noticed at that meeting, they wouldn't allow anybody in other than Madison people in the invitation for the meeting. Remember, you went to one up there before, I think, Peter.
I did, and that was, they weren't gonna let anybody speak that wasn't from there.
But I think the invitation to this meeting was only for Madison people.
Hmm, yeah.
It's odd, I got an invitation, I'm not sure why they emailed me one. I
You don't
didn't
know
go.
where you live.
I have a couple of questions on that same thing. Have they broken the contract with us yet?
Well, what contract would that be?
Any of them?
We don't have a contract with Summit Utilities.
Who do we have a contract with this line going through Oakland? There was a fella here that was talking then, he said, but if anything happens, it's up to everybody's, your own insurance to take care of your problems.
The one about the TV mobile, phone cellular, whatever.
I'm not sure how to answer your question, but I'd like to.
Okay, well, what I'm saying is we should have gotten money to have them go through town anyway.
We do have earnest money to protect our roads. You know,
Yeah.
they've been ripping up roads to
Yeah,
put
and they're gonna get a lot worse
on
once
the,
it thaws
on the
too.
town roads, so we do have money in escrow
Yeah. They gotta
against,
distribute that
against
amongst the
that.
town people so they can get their vehicles repaired. Where are the shut-offs when there is a problem? And there's gonna be, I can guarantee you that.
The,
Where are the shut-offs?
the one that I've mentioned this evening is at Rabicon. There's one right there that they've used to do their testing.
Where is that at?
Up on Old Waterville Road.
Up on-
Yep. There's another down at the end of Webb Road. That would be in Waterville. They have a pump station down there.
Where's the one on Fairfield Street? Is there one down that way?
I don't think there is.
Fairfield Center.
Fairfield
In
Center.
front of your place, Ed.
The one up in Rabicon was shut off back to the street.
I'll tell you, a bunch of high school kids do better than what they're doing. So as far as you know, there's no contract
We
with the
haven't
town of
made
Oakland to
any-
go through there?
we haven't made a contract with them.
So there's no time limit to renege on this whole thing?
No.
And they can start paying us some bucks?
Well, for example, whatever they have in place on April 1 will be taxable property, and they'll get a property tax bill from the town of Oakland.
Good. Now, the other thing, with the line going through and the timetable, you said in 2 weeks, they're actually saying they're gonna be pumping past here?
That is what they said to the people in Madison. But don't forget, they also told us for a long time that they would be delivering gas by November 7th. And that's coming on.
So it's a different line that's going past here that's going up to SD Warren then? That must be the ones going through Fairfield?
No.
No, no.
That's gonna be this one too?
This is the one that's heading up to Sappy and Madison. This is a transmission line. The words that we talk about are the transmission line and the distribution system. And the distribution is the one that serves customers along the way. The transmission line is the one that's taking gas up to the major users beyond here. One of those will be Hudamarki. They've got a big line that's gone up to Fairfield and goes back, comes back into town out around.
Yeah, they came down through, by Hammond Tractor and whatnot, and down through across.
Yep, that's heading to Hudamarki, and they're picking up a few along the way, but that's the purpose of that. But that hooks onto this one, it goes up this way.
Some of it's plastic line and some's metal.
The plastic is the distribution system, the steel is the transmission main.
So going down Fairfield Street, there's not gonna be any distribution, that's just that's a high pressure line going right straight through.
Well, I'll try to answer as best I can. The distribution system is supposed to come, and I don't know why I can't remember the name of this place, Northern Motorsports?
Northeast Motors.
Northeast, thank you, I gotta write that down.
Something like
Northeast
that.
Motorsports up here on.
Yep,
on-
Kawasaki, yep.
Yeah, Kawasaki. We've been told that they will receive gas service this year in 2014. That's as far as the company is extending this way to serve customers in 2014. Currently, Inland Hospital is where it stops. That was one of the big ones that they wanted to serve as soon as they could. That's where the pipe stops right now. Their plan is to come up KMD because they want to take gas out to First Park to T-Mobile. That's another big customer for them. And so we thought that was the next jump until recently I heard that they now plan to extend as far as Northeast Motorsports this year.
So they've got to dig and put another line in. Is that correct?
The distribution line, the plastic, yes,
That's coming from Waterville,
yes.
when their main is going right down across the
You
road
can't
right
take
there?
off the transmission line.
I understand that, but
Yeah,
I would
but
have
the
thought
answer is yes.
they had to take off that
And
main
then
line somewhere.
to give you as much information as I can,
That's
they told
interesting.
us that they would then plan on extending the main into the downtown business district in 2015. that will be part of next year's attracting customers. They've also told anybody that they go where they think they can pick up the most customers, and they look for the bigger customers who are gonna use the most product. That's more attractive to them than picking up a house here and there.
A lot of people are gonna be surprised when it meets the same price they're paying for oil, electricity, and every other fuel out there, ain't they?
Well, there's been some interesting news lately, I'm sure you're referring to
Yes.
with that comment.
It's gonna be right equal with it, guarantee it.
There are a lot of people who hope that isn't so, but I've been wondering the same thing myself, Ed.
It's good.
You got anything else you wanna quiz me on?
Well, no, I think I've tested you enough right now.
Thank you.
Let that go. Thank you very much for your input.
You're entirely welcome. Can I, please, I wanted you to be aware, Chief Coughlin has arrived at an important milestone in his career in becoming certified as a Fire Chief Officer Level 2. And I got this letter here from Chief St. Michael, who is chair of the committee for the Maine Fire Chiefs. And there's going to be a recognition for the chief Wednesday, March 26th, in Newry at 3 o'clock. And I would like to be there and see him receive that recognition. And I would like to get back here in time enough for your 6 o'clock council meeting. And I've been told by Chief Michael that that can happen. Chief St. Michael. That's all on that item, but Chief, congratulations.
Congratulations.
I
Yes.
have a question.
Take the rest of the night off,
Are
Dave.
there
No
many
guarantees
chiefs
on
of
that.
fire departments our size that have this certification, Dave?
I don't know off the top of my head, the chiefs that are current on their certifications. I believe there's about 12 in the state that have the certification. There's 3 levels, 1, 2, and 3. I think there's about a dozen that have the certification, but I couldn't tell you off the top of my head which towns they're from.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Just to review, mentioning the 26th meeting, as of right now, unless necessary, that will be our only meeting in March, correct? The 12th, we've deferred pending the need to do something the following week.
Unless we make a determination that we need to get together
Prior to.
earlier. Yep. And at this point, I don't see that happening, but things can come up.
No, when you said getting back for the 26th meeting, it just reminded me that we have a little change in March, and I wanted to.
Yep.
I canceled the 12th. He's away.
Right. Rats.
He's down getting a lot of scoop from DC.
Talking about train railroad safety. The next item on the agenda is, I wanted to let you know, I reached out to the 2 candidates for the RSU Board of Directors that you had interviewed earlier. I first spoke with Mrs. Stewart, Mr. Stewart's wife, and I spoke with her at length about what the call was about and what we were interested in. She said that she would share all of that information with Mr. Stewart, and she thought he'd get back to me, but that has not happened. I did speak on the phone with Tom Burton, and he indicated that yes, he is very interested and willing to serve at this time. He asked me, how did this come about? And I explained to him the lady being elected, but then leaving the area to accept a position out of state, and the vacancy becoming open once again for that reason. So of the 2, I would have expected a response, having the conversation that I had with the missus. If there had been interest, I would have thought we'd have had a call. But I did have a conversation with Tom Burton, and he is interested. So that's an update for you to consider, and if you like, we can put that on the next agenda, or we can go in a different direction. But that's the upshot since your last meeting, and as we recall, whatever you do or don't do, the person you put into that would begin to serve July 1 for the 1 remaining year of Donna Doucette's position, term.
I guess if we feel comfortable, and I'm not saying we don't, but I just wanna throw that out, that, anybody else that would have come forward has, that the school board has talked about it enough, that the citizenry know that this is happening, or to the best that we can assume that we would appoint a person as soon as theoretically possible, so that if in fact that person wanted to start attending meetings prior to, it would not be a latter event. So I think as a group, we feel that we've done all we can, or all we need, not all we can, but all we need to do to flush out other potentials, and we act
Swiftly.
at the next meeting.
Especially the budget's coming up soon.
I feel surprised that he didn't know this position was open again, if he's that involved and that interested in the school position, that he didn't know that this was a situation taking place. I wonder if we shouldn't have something in the paper that this position is open again and we're looking to appoint somebody again. It just seems to me that he should have known that if he's interested in this position. Maybe not.
And I guess that was if we don't feel that people have had enough information, then if we were to do something like that, it would at least say we're seeking out people and make sure that we catch any potential candidates.
I could call the reporter and ask him to do a piece
Yeah,
and
I
put it
would
in the
think that'd be
paper.
good. Might be other potential candidates out there.
Would the board like that to be done?
That's your motion, sir?
I would make that a motion that we notify the public that we will be filling one position.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay.
We have somebody in the room who's had experience. I wonder why they're not stepping forward.
Well, I'll move on.
Yeah. Be tired.
You're retired.
You asked for a list of tax increment financing eligible activities. Those are the items that we currently fund that might be eligible uses for any TIF revenue that might come to exist. Once we start assessing that gas main. And so I prepared a list for you, and as you can see, approximately $126 of let's say, current expenditures that you might cover with TIF monies. I also put in the packet a copy of an article. I had been asked to speak to this subject by the reporter that wrote it, and so I gave her some of my views, but I was trying to be careful not to represent the town or the municipal association, as I do give my views, although those positions were identified and put behind my name. There are others that are quoted as well. I feel honored to be in the company of Representative Peter Mills talking on this subject. But be that as it may, you can see there are two sides to everything. And Dana indicates that he found the other half of that article and hopefully found it interesting reading. That's all it's intended for, is your interest.
The $126,832, is that what you predict we will get for tax money from that pipe?
Well, that's all a question of value and which year we're talking about. Because I think there will be more each year for several years until they get their infrastructure fully extended. If you take our current mill rate, and I had that, I don't know if I still do, if you take our current mill rate and multiply it by a figure of $6 million worth of value, you come to $82,000 worth of tax. So you can see we've got plenty of items that if it was the town's decision to pursue a TIF, you could easily find uses for what we might collect, if that turns out to be the correct value number. That's not a prediction, that's sort of a guess.
Okay.
Would it be of value to have a TIF discussion at our next council meeting, setting aside some time to talk about the next steps if we wanna do something, or the rationale not to do something?
Yes.
So,
A discussion. Any particular information you want?
well, for my, as we've gotten this information now, I guess some of the questions were answered by the legal counsel, but I think it would be good for us to review some of the things she talked about, the length of it, the best timing to do something for this year, next year, delaying a few years, because obviously we can continue to do this in
There's a lot of ground to
many
cover.
different ways.
There's a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah. So I guess just to review to ourselves,
Maybe
and,
we can get some of it talked out.
because I think if we don't start, then we will never finish.
Good point.
Have you heard anything from surrounding towns or what their plans are yet, Peter, or are they in the same stage we're in right now?
Well, it's pretty similar. I mean, there have been several meetings. I've gone to several of them. I'm trying to see if I can tell you when the last date was that I attended.
I think you told us last meeting.
All right then, thank you. All right, then you have that information. The next meeting, I don't think is on the schedule yet. I don't think they've got much further than we have. There's a lot of questions about what sort of a regional entity might come to exist. I think Shauna was saying when she was here that the current law is specific to the individual towns. Individual towns have to vote to designate what they're gonna do with their money. What kind of a regional arrangement might be made is still sort of being talked around. But yes, we'll have that on the next agenda for you to process on. I had just a couple of quick things. The county budget committee is always scrounging up people. I've been on the county budget committee for the last 3 years, and I'm willing to do it again. Anyone else that would like to do it would certainly step aside for that to happen, but I don't mind representing you at the county budget committee. It is maybe 3 meetings in the spring that take place in Augusta, and then there's a final hearing in Waterville that I know Dana's attended, but by that point, most of the decisions have been made. It's more of a formality, as you learned and I learned that night. But this is interesting. Oakland is in Kennebec County District 3, which is composed of Albion, Belgrade, Benton, Clinton, Oakland, Rome, Waterville, Winslow, and Unity Township. There are 3 districts in this county, and each district gets to send representatives to this county budget committee. It was on this committee that I first met Paul LePage when he was representing Waterville in my first year on the committee. So you do get to meet interesting people and talk about the county budget, and towns all pay pretty significant dollars to the county for the things it does at the courthouse, and DA, and sheriff, and probate, and all those things. So it's a learning experience. But the caucus, to which you're all invited, will be at 5 p.m. March 6th here. And anybody that shows up can nominate anybody that they'd like to, and that could be anyone from any of these communities.
Does that count kids?
Kids.
Sure.
Well, you could try.
I'd make a motion that we have Peter be our representative to this District 3 budget meeting.
Second, all in favor?
So,
Go for it.
thank you. The last thing I have, I'd like you to tell me whether I'm thinking correctly or incorrectly. May I, this is, tell me yes, no, or maybe. One of our employees would like to use Pleasant Point Park for a wedding on July 6th. That's a Sunday, 4th of July weekend. This has been done before. Apparently, according to Eric Seekins, there have been 3 or 4 weddings there. The request was to close the park for a couple hours for this to occur, and for a vehicle to drive the bride in and drop the lady off and whether or not the town would volunteer some chairs. This was